What if the most valuable skill of the next decade is being built right now by a small group who got their hands dirty early? This is the LLM Mechanics, a Wild Pines production. There's a kind of knowledge you can't download, can't teach, can't shortcut. And right now, while most people scroll past headlines about artificial intelligence, a small group is building something invisible, something that will matter more than any tool or technology. Picture a garage in 1965. A father and son, hands black with grease, listening to an engine idle. The kid doesn't know it yet, but he's developing a superpower. He's learning what a healthy engine sounds like versus one about to die. He's building intuition through struggle, through skinned knuckles and Saturday afternoons, and 100 small failures. That intuition will serve him for 60 years. And here's what nobody's talking about. The same thing is happening right now. Not with cars, with something far more consequential. Modern cars just work. You press a button, they start. Check engine light comes on. You take it to a shop. 16-year-olds pass their driving tests every day without knowing what a carburetor does, because they don't need to. The intuition gap is invisible. It only reveals itself when something breaks, when the dashboard lights up and you realize you have no mental model for what's happening under the hood. You can use the car. You can't understand it. And that distinction between using and understanding turns out to matter enormously, because right now 1 billion people are learning to use AI. They're typing prompts, getting outputs, moving on with their day, but a much smaller group. They're in the garage, hands dirty, building intuition that can't be shortcut. This has happened before. Every transformative technology creates a generation of mechanics, people who were there when the tools were primitive, when nothing just worked, when you had to understand the machine to get anything done. The kids who grew up with early personal computers in the 1980s, they learned command lines and hardware because they had no choice. They developed a skepticism, an instinct that polished software could never provide. The teenagers who discovered the internet in the 1990s, they taught themselves HTML, learned to spot scams before scam detection existed, built mental models for filtering information when information was suddenly infinite. Each generation earned their intuition through friction, through frustration, through the unglamorous work of making broken things function. Then the tools improved. The next generation arrived to find everything polished, seamless, easy. They became fluent users, not mechanics, and the cycle began again. Between 2020 and 2022, a small cohort of early adopters wrestled with large language models that barely worked. They weren't building products, they were learning a language. Thousands of failed prompts, stubborn models that refused to follow instructions, outputs that looked confident but were completely wrong. Through that struggle, something remarkable happened. They developed what researchers now call prompt intuition, an instinctive sense for how to communicate with these systems. They built internal hallucination detectors, that gut feeling when the AI is confidently making things up. They learned problem decomposition, how to break complex tasks into AI-shaped chunks, what to ask for, what order to ask it in. This is tacit knowledge, the kind that lives in your fingers, not in a manual. You can watch 100 tutorials and still not have it, because it wasn't learned, it was earned. Through repetition, through failure, through time in the garage when these tools were raw and difficult and demanded understanding. Here's where it gets urgent. Analysis of early adopter performance reveals a striking pattern. Right now, in early 2026, skilled AI users operate at roughly 20 times the output of non-users. Not 20%, 20x. This is adoption arbitrage, the temporary advantage of using tools most people haven't touched. By the end of this year, that multiplier compresses to 5 or 6x. The interfaces improve, the barriers fall, basic competence becomes free. But here's what survives. A persistent 2 to 3x advantage that doesn't compress further. The intuition layer, the part that can't be shortcut. New users will get AI systems that just work. Beautiful interfaces, polished outputs. They'll be fluent immediately. But understanding the tool, knowing why things work, that's still earned. The window is 12 to 18 months, maybe less, before everyone figures this out, before the garage closes. There's a misconception that artificial intelligence removes humans from the loop. It doesn't. It raises the level at which humans operate. Consider software development. Yesterday's programmer wrote lines of code. Today's programmer defines architecture, and reviews AI-generated implementations. The human didn't leave the loop. They moved up the stack. The same pattern emerges everywhere. Content creators shift from writing words to editorial direction. Project managers move from ticket management to vision and priorities. The judgment layer remains irreducibly human. An AI can write a function. It cannot decide if the function should exist. It can generate a marketing campaign. It cannot know if that campaign aligns with who you actually want to be. This is the new skill. Finding the right altitude. Too high, you lose control. Too low, you forfeit the leverage. The organizations and individuals who calibrate correctly, they're winning by factors no one predicted. Early analysis of market survivors reveals an uncomfortable truth. The middle ground is extinction. Light AI use, the cautious tentative approach, produces the worst outcomes. Full exposure to competitive disruption. Marginal cost savings. The risks without the rewards. Only two positions appear viable. Full AI native accepting initial chaos in exchange for 10x efficiency gains. High-risk transformative upside. Or explicitly human artisan rejecting AI entirely. Positioning on craft authenticity. Premium human touch. Zero risk of AI backlash because you never claimed otherwise. Everything between these poles gets crushed. The software mode is gone. Everyone can build now. What remains? Domain expertise, taste, speed, customer relationships, the proprietary feedback loops that improve from usage. The things AI accelerates but cannot replace. There's a reason most people won't act on any of this. The same reason most people quit guitar after 3 weeks. Before the feedback loop kicks in, everything feels frustrating and pointless. You're putting in effort and getting back noise. But something shifts when you push through. The cycle from wanting something to having it collapses. Days become hours. Hours become minutes. Learn, apply, see results, learn more. It becomes self-reinforcing, almost addictive. Games simulate progress. This is actual progress. The gap between what an expert can do and what a novice can do is compressing. AI hands everyone the same power tools, but the gap between what was impossible and what's routine, that's exploding. Every month the ceiling rises. Early adopters aren't just keeping pace, they're compounding, building on intuition that took years to develop. The garage door is still open, but it won't be forever. The question isn't whether AI will transform everything. That's already happening. The question is whether you'll be a mechanic or just another driver who doesn't know what's under the hood. This video was created entirely by AI. The script, images, voice, and avatar, Mineros, all generated. This is what we're building at Wild Pines. Tools that turn ideas into content. If you want to build with us, visit wildpines.ai. Subscribe for more AI-generated insights.